The world of waterfalls, from the water to the rocks, to the stream, and to the sound, waterfalls have forever been a symbol of the wonder of nature as well as peace and tranquility. For how these beautiful displays of beauty formed. Hello, I'm Darryl McNuggets, and today we will explore the enthralling, the intriguing, and...
Hey, buddy! This is my video! I'm Ewan Skipworth, and welcome to How to Rise for Waterfalls Geography! The first part of the formation is when there's a top layer of hard rock, for example granite, sloping to a layer of soft rock, for example sandstone, with water flowing across and down it. As the water flows, it will erode the soft, less resistant rock below faster than the strong or resistant hard rock on top. This is known as differential erosion. A thing you can write about this in your exam, according to the SQA, is an example they have given, is differential erosion takes place, that's your first mark, over bands of more and less resistant rock. That's your second mark. This eventually forms what is known as a plunge pool, which is a deep pit where the soft rock used to be before it was eroded, which, as the name implies, creates a sudden plunge that the water falls down into. This plunge is then further deepened through the process of hydraulic action due to the force of the water colliding with the bottom of the plunge pool, compressing air into the crevices in the rock, causing fragments to break apart. Continues, eventually the soft rock will erode so much it will create an overhang, which is when the frontal part of the hard rock on top loses the soft rock which was once below it, making it unstable and unsupported. The overhang is eventually further weakened by the erosion, and gravity pulls it down, making the hard rock crumble and collapse into the plunge pool. An example given by the SQA is undercutting causes an overhang, that's unsupported rock, which collapses into the plunge pool due to gravity. That's 2 marks. That's your first mark at unsupported rock, and your second mark at plunge pool due to gravity.
Down McNuggets! I'm down McNuggets! What are you doing?
The collapsed rocks then will erode the soft rock at the bottom of the plunge pool more, creating an even steeper drop. This is done primarily through abrasion, which is when rocks rub against the surface, causing parts of the rock to be grinded off, therefore eroding it. I think I've lost that Darryl McNuggets guy. I think, at least I hope anyway. And anyway, the plunge pool can be further deepened by materials from the collapse. That's an SQA example that gives you 1 mark regarding this. And that's usually through the process I've previously discussed of hydraulic action and abrasion. So yeah, and
Down McNuggets! Yes! It's me, Darryl McNuggets! Oh my God!
The waterfall then retreats upstream, creating a gorge, making the drop even more steep.
Darryl McNuggets! Leave me alone, please! I'm gonna get you! You ruined everything!
We're now on to our processes. These are worth up to 4 marks in a typical 8-mark question, which is usually what you'll be doing on waterfalls. Let's get into it!
All the water-based erosion processes are applicable for this, and will be the same as the ones in the coastal topic. However, you want to change your wording to better fit with the terminology of waterfalls. This is to secure marks safely, and to achieve extra marks as you will describe how these affect waterfalls and not just rocks in general. Firstly, we have hydraulic action. Hydraulic action is when air gets compressed and cracks or openings in rocks due to the force of water, which causes fragments of rocks to break apart from it. An example given to the SQA of what you're supposed to write in waterfall questions about hydraulic action is this as follows. Hydraulic action is when water compresses air, that's your first mark, into the riverbank, causing materials to be dislodged, that is your second mark. If you're struggling with the wording and stuff for that, such as riverbank, that sort of terminology you may have not heard before, I've made a really illustrative diagram that took me about 7 hours to make. And I mean, there wasn't really good ones online, so I thought, I'd just put in the extra effort for you guys so you could really get a good grasp on the subject. I'll just put it on screen now. Our next process is solution, which is when seawater, because there's a lot of salt, dissolves certain types of rocks, or when soluble materials are dissolved and carried by the water. You want to refer to this second definition of soluble materials are dissolved and carried by the water when answering a waterfall question. The example the SQA gives you of what you're supposed to write about solution in waterfall questions is this. Solution is when acid in the water, that's your first mark, react with soluble bedrock, that's your second mark. The next process that you can write about if you choose to is abrasion, which is when pebbles, rock fragments, or something similar grinds onto a rock, causing parts of the rock to be eroded and become smoother. The example that you're supposed to write about in terms of waterfalls, given by the SQA, is abrasion is when the force of the water throws bedload, that's your first mark, against the banks, causing a scouring action, that's your second mark. You actually don't know what a bedload is. So basically, a bedload's sort of like the rocks that are at the bottom, and then they. Why are you bothering trying to describe? I have a graph for this anyway. Actually, yeah, let's put that up on screen real quick. Finally, as our final process, we have attrition, which is when rocks being moved by currents or waves smash against one another, making pieces of each other break off, which therefore results in the rock becoming smaller and rounder. If you're writing about this in a waterfall question, you want to say something along these lines. This is an example from the SQA once again. Attrition is when load is thrown against other particles in the water, that's your first mark, causing it to become smaller and rounder. That's your second mark. And of course, load is probably just referring to bed load.
Thank you everyone so much for watching this video. I hope you learned a lot and this helped you with your revision. Make sure to like and subscribe and all that stuff. He's back! How's he gonna do that? I'm gonna get you on down, McNuggets! Nature's my shower!
There he goes! You're fully drenched!